was outside of a hangar called Airflight. There is a similar name in Western Australia. What they did with these two planes, I'm damned if I know, because nobody had any money to fly them. But however, 1991 we had a Freedom of the City in Temora, and I was one of the people who turned up for that. And I guarantee you should read the book, buy it in the museum library there, Wings Over Temora. It will give you the basic information about just about everything, about ground staff, the WAFs, and flying and all. And sadly, the crashes, some, which I saw a few of. However, at the dinner, this fella sitting next to me, turned out he'd flown with Sergeant, what's her name, Morgan, and we knew that we'd flown 691. But then, reading the book, I found 691 was the plane I'd seen when I was 14, and turned out the same plane. So I've been thinking about it for years, and I thought, how am I convincing these people, the CEO and Peter Chandler, that I want to ride in that plane. And to my surprise, yes. And I had a wonderful trip this morning, and I'd like to thank Ken, our chief, and Peter, and all the ground staff and volunteers that made it possible. Because you can fly a plane, but you can't if you haven't got competent ground staff. And that's one thing that pilots should never forget. But it was a delightful pleasure to be out here and do what I've done today. They said on them developed, and they're very, very nice. Thank God you can't see my ugly face, but you can see my head in the plane.
All right.
Thanks again.
Now, would you have ever believed that the airplane you saw when you rode your push bike out there to Mascot was the one that you would do your training in here at Temora and then
believe it.
get to fly all these years later in 2010?
It was an amazing thing to find that out. And since 1991 I've been thinking about getting out here and having I think somebody let me sit in it one day, about 6 years ago. The hangar was closed, and it might have been you, Ken.
I think it was me.
Yeah, you came and opened the hangar door and let me sit in it. So I thought, well, I've sat in it, I better start getting ready to fly the thing. But anyway, I had a wonderful time.
Now, we'll just turn around here and watch. Lars has dropped this streamer out of the airplane. Did you ever do any streamer cutting?
Illegally.
Illegally,
yeah.
Okay. Well, you'll be happy to know that Lars actually has an approval to do this. So there we go. How many cuts was that? Who's been watching? That's the second one. It's interesting, depending on the temperature and the conditions, as to how quickly the streamer comes down. And today, it's falling very quickly, and he's not going to get that last cut.
A little bit bumpy up there, little lumps. But he wouldn't want to do it when he's flying the 747.
No, that's exactly right. Now, what did you use for a streamer when you were doing your illegal
toilet
streamer?
rolls.
Yeah, okay. Well, it hasn't changed.
Yeah,
Time hasn't changed.
They were cheap then.
Mr. Sorman's finest, as Peter Anderson says.
Yeah.
Now, what if we watch here, the Ryan, Scotty's flying the Ryan is going to catch up to the Tiger. It's a good bit quicker than the Tiger Moth.
That's right.
Did you fly the Ryan at all?
No, I would like to have flown it. It's a beautiful design of plane, and in 36, 38, whatever it was, I saw that thing and I thought, who'd design a plane so beautiful it's so many years back?
I would agree. I think it's one of the most beautiful airplanes in the collection.
And like from a fabric aircraft to come out with a metal aircraft with looks so lovely and streamlined. And but my love was always with the Tiger, and when I went to England they had all sorts of odd jobs to do, and unfortunately I wasn't detailed to peel potatoes, but I went back on Tigers at one stage, and I flew about 30 different ones, and up here I've flown probably 25 different ones, but I always come back to 691, which was sea flight.
Now tell me when, because it looked very different here during the war, didn't it?
Oh yes, we didn't have these lovely big buildings. We had hangars there, about there, and we had no bitumen. There was no runways. It was a wheat field, and they took the crop off, and it was all the wheat stubble. And when we kept flying on it, it blew away and we had red dust. That's all we had.
So were you here in the summertime or in the winter?
Yes, I was here part of the winter and part of summer, and it was pretty cool in the winter.
I'll bet it was.
Especially when they got you up at 4 in the morning to do some flying.
Yeah.
But the old Tiger is a basic aircraft, and it will be, and it always has been. And anyone that's got a penchant to learn to fly, join this era club.
Now, you told me that you were up at 4 o'clock this morning. Was
That's
that
right.
just for old time's sake?
Clean my teeth, have a shower, and all the other things you've got to do.
Because you weren't going to miss out on a flight in the
I
night.
wasn't going to miss out, and you fellas kept your word.
And how did Lars go? Did he handle it okay?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. You'd give him 2 thumbs up for his...
Yes, I told him to stop telling fibs about me flying, but here he comes now.
All right.
So I flew up and down around a couple of times and did a lot of turns out here, and I gave it back to him when he was... he said, what about the formation? I said, no, I think you'd better fly that. And I'm coming back, I handed it back to him at about 500 feet. He said, it's all yours.
And how long since you had flown a Tiger Moth?
67 years. So it comes back like riding a push bike. Thank you very much.
Now, Pete was talking to me. Tell me again how many years. I'm sorry I missed that.
67.
67 years since you flew. And
Next
Lars
month
said...
I'll be 86, so I added it up right.
Well, I did say to you earlier, if I can be 86 and still able to climb into a Tiger Moth, I'm going to be very happy, man.
Well, I'm sure he was a flying doctor. And he said, what did you just say? I said, I want to try gyrocopters. He said, mate, I think you better stick to your skateboard. So perhaps I might, I don't know. But we'll see. Yeah.
Now, before you go, the guys are just positioning here for one final maneuver, so we'll get you just to stay with us here. Formation flying was obviously a key to what happened there.
No, I didn't. As a matter of fact, we used to go out yabbing and fishing Sundays when I got leave. And we used to have my hut was here somewhere, and there was a fence with a farm there. We had a lovely lady and a daughter used to come over and give us afternoon tea and cakes and take our washing away in the sulky, bring it back.
Outstanding. So you did well. The locals treated you well.
Yes, I tried to wash my khaki uniform, and Mother said, you've got to put starch in it. So I went to get it off the line and it stood up.
Now just look here to the west and you'll see the Tiger and the Ryan inbound for their final maneuver before they come into land.
Oh, lovely. Lovely look at that. This one. A meteor. Quite an airship.
A meteor, yeah, absolutely.
While I was in England flying the last